Welcome to Distracted, the podcast with Angela Lockwood, the place where you will find practical brain-boosting strategies, expert insights, and real-life stories to help busy brains thrive in the age of distraction. Let's go. Welcome everybody to Distracted. I'm Angela Lockwood, and this is my final episode of Distracted for 2024. I can't even believe that I am saying that. 2024 has been for me a really interesting year. It's been sort of mixed with really high highs, very low lows, but a lot of that mundane in between. And I don't know if you know what I'm talking about there. You know, those senses where things are just feeling like they go really well and you're pumped and you're focused and you feel like things can't get better. And then there's other moments in your life where you think, oh my goodness, is this all it is? Is this really all that is going on? Or you think, surely things can't get worse right now. But then there's a whole lot of the in between where it is day after day doing, the work, doing the slog, and really trying to stay focused in between all of that mundane. And I wanted to finish off this year because I know so many people are going to be flooded. Your inboxes are going to be flooded particularly in January, with ways that you can make this your best year yet. So 2025, how do you make this your best year yet? How do you stay focused on your goals? How do you do all the things that you need to, but still have to keep up with all of the drudgery of what you have to do in your life? And in fact, there might be some posts that I will make at the beginning of 2025 saying some of those things. But your inboxes will also get flooded in the lead up to Christmas, not only just tempting you to buy all the things that you don't really actually need, but also encouraging you to look back over the year that was and reflect on all of the things that you've done, the things that you're proud of, the things that you wish you could have done better. And some might even prompt you to look and go, well, what were the things that you said back in January you'd do and you didn't stick with? And those ones sometimes are like a sucker punch to the belly, right? But today I wanted to finish off the year with the topic of the distraction of possibility. And I don't know about you, I often get distracted, funnily enough, hence the topic of the name of this podcast being Distracted. I work with a lot of busy brains through my company, and I'm constantly surrounded by people who find it difficult to stay focused and find it difficult to get the things done in their life that are really important to them. And what I find time and time again is one of the challenges with staying focused and not being distracted by all the possibilities that are presented to us in our life is that there is such an abundance of choice out there and opportunities that really can feel very overwhelming. And this abundance of choice filters into every single aspect of our life. And I see it time and time again. I see it in my own kids, even down to things like which subjects should I choose for school. It might be, when we're out shopping, the abundance of choice of what products to buy. We might go and want to choose just one thing, but we're presented with a whole store. Like you go into a makeup store with a teenage daughter, holy moly, that just becomes like this overwhelming choice that faces you. How in the world do you decide on the very best option for you? And what can often happen, not just with your own family, but if this translates over into the business world, I work with so many entrepreneurs and so many business owners who are so stuck in indecision, or they've got so many possibilities, in part because of their own brilliance. They have so many things that they can offer the world, but also which avenue do I choose? And I've found this a lot through my own career. I've been working for myself for 20 years now, just coming up in January, which is so exciting. But I've often found along the way that the distraction of possibility sometimes kept me stuck for a lot longer than what I would have liked, or the distraction of possibility pulled me off my path onto these random different tangents that I don't even know how I found myself sort of walking down those paths. But the possibility of what could have been dragged me off a very, very good, very safe, or even very successful path that I had worked really hard to stay on. And I don't know if you're a business owner that's listening to this, there is constantly new opportunities presented to us. And it's not just through social media, but it might be, you might be in a business group and you hear an idea from a business colleague, or they share a new platform or they share a new product that's out there, and automatically your brain becomes distracted. You go, oh, I could include that into my business. Oh, that's a great idea, I might explore that. And if you go into one meeting and you have a brain that is open and very much aware to different possibilities, this in itself can be so overwhelming, and it can be tiring, and it can actually move us off a path that is working really well for us. And I also hear this a lot when I have clients coming to me for support on either their next step in their sort of business strategy, or they're feeling very stuck and they want to get some clarity around what the next step is for them. And I often hear a lot of business coaches that they've consulted, they almost add to the problem, that they don't help simplify the thinking for the business owner. What they do is now they open up a raft of so many other possibilities, that what they went to that person for in the first place, which was usually clarity, which was usually simplification, now becomes like a whole new doorway that's open to them, that now is almost confusing to them and overwhelming, that they don't even know what that next simple step is. What they're stuck in is the possibility of what could be possible. And so, if you've ever found yourself like that as a business owner, the very thinking of being in business is about almost creating your own path, right? It's about coming up with different ideas, going down different pathways or different product developments, or it might be working with different client groups. And these sort of launching of different projects and diversifying services, looking at different target markets, all of this is great, and it is a way of expanding and developing your business. But what I see time and time again is, for the majority of people, this is great for a very short period of time. And one of the things I want to go through with you by the end of this episode is, what are some of those strategies that you can put in place? In fact, there's probably about 7 I'll share with you about, if you find yourself getting pulled in these tangents, how can you not get lost in the distraction of possibility, but how can you remain focused amongst the possibility? Okay. And there's a really big, significant mindset shift that needs to happen, and also a behavioral shift, because that distraction of possibility can actually keep people so stuck, or can keep people so busy that their business is not serving them, or the business is not doing for them what they need. But it's not also just about business. It's also, if we take this into the sort of time of education, or the industry of education, if you think, and I see this a lot with teenagers who are looking at what they want to do when they leave school, or it might be that you are looking at wanting to further your education. People are getting really overwhelmed by the number of courses, the different career paths you can go down, the certifications that you can have. And I recently had a conversation with a client who was actually really confused. She's like, I've got so many years of experience in this industry, I don't even know if I should start doing more certifications or different qualifications, because I actually don't really know where to start. And that in itself is keeping her stuck. But also, the realization of going, is it really necessary right now, can really unlock the possibilities, and go, well, the possibilities aren't for me right now, but let's park that and we'll come back to that at a time when I'm ready, which is one of the strategies that we'll chat about. So even if you're looking at studying, or if you're a school leaver that's looking at career paths, what area is it that you want to go in, can sometimes not just be a simple answer of going, well, what I need to do is study that. And I can remember when I was looking at universities, when I was at school, I wanted to be an occupational therapist. So it was pretty clear to me I needed to do a degree in occupational therapy. Like, it was pretty straightforward, right? And there are many industries where you can do this. But now that I do other things other than just occupational therapy in the profession, There are so many different pathways that I could go down and get certifications for. I could get qualifications in this. I could get, be a part of so many different professional memberships that I could spend all my time just living in those rather than actually doing the business of the business. So, business is one area where we often do get distracted by possibilities, as is study and education is another area. And then we've got our personal life as well, where we can get really distracted by the endless possibilities. Now, I see this and I've experienced this myself many times with exercise. And I guess a lot of my work that I do is with women, and often with women, who are in a certain age group where they're looking at going, well, what is the next chapter for me? What does that look like? Or I want clarity on what the next step is for me. And even, we might be talking about business or even just education. But the personal life element of it is really consuming as well. So they want to get out there and be a little bit more social, or they want to try a different sport because their bodies aren't quite working the way they were like when they were 20. So they need to make some adjustments to the types of sports that they're playing. Or it might be that, they might be feeling isolated. So they want to go out and, get involved in different community groups. Or they might be at a stage in their life where business has been going really well and they've been able to create and carve out a little bit more time. So now they want to be involved in the community. And the irony of this is that there are so many possibilities. And often what people do is they get given the sort of the recommendation, or they, someone sort of gives them the advice of going, well, just choose one and try it. But the choice of knowing which is that next one can be so consuming that people just don't choose anyway. So it's like, well, I want to do something different, but where do I start? And it's often that where do I start part where a lot of people find themselves stuck, and they get really stuck in the overwhelm of choosing. And my very first book that I wrote is called The Power of Conscious Choice. And in that book, I actually explore this in so much more detail around how we actually make decisions. But one of the things I love about that book is the simplicity of some of the models that I presented to people, that the realization that when we choose, and I call it the continuum of choice, is that when you choose something, it just leads you to the next choice. And then that leads you to the next choice. So rather than it feeling like the next choice is a stop or it's a line in the sand, if we can understand that a choice leads us to a new choice, that leads us to a new choice, it allows us to have a little bit of freedom in going, well, it's not a be all and end all decision I need to make. It's just going to lead me to the next one. And sometimes the next choice can be, I don't want to do this. You might start, I don't know, let's say you might have taken up a new hobby and it might be rowing. And you're in this group situation. You're like, I think it'd be great for my body. It's going to be good for me. It's going to be good for my social life. I'm outside. It ticks all the boxes. And you go to a few of the rowing training sessions and you're like, don't want to do this, not my people. My back's killing me, or, I don't love it because every time we go out, it's pouring rain, whatever it is for you. If that doesn't light you up, then knowing that that is not, doesn't signal that you're a failure in that, or it doesn't signal that that was the wrong choice. You shouldn't have done that. And rather than beating yourselves up, just realizing that it's going to take you to the next choice. And hopefully that sort of gives you that, I guess, freedom to be able to make choices that go, well, good on you. Like, you had a crack, it worked for you, but now you've made the next choice. So what's the next possibility? And if we see it like this beautiful continuum that just keeps evolving and keeps moving forward, very rarely then do we get to a point where we feel stuck. We might temporarily feel like things aren't moving forward, but what we don't want to live in is the prolonged feeling of being stuck, because that prolonged feeling of being stuck can have so many mental and physical effects on our well-being. That sometimes what we can do when we feel stuck is we shut down and we close ourselves off from all of those other possibilities that could be available to us that are trying to reveal itself to you. Now, what I mean by that, and you've probably had this experience before, is that you sort of, something pops up in your life and you're like, How come I've never seen that before? Why haven't I ever noticed that? And there's a couple of reasons for that. But in this context, one of the reasons is because when you are stuck, what often happens is you close yourself off from even seeing those possibilities in the first place. So they're there, they could be all around you. It might be that that's a significant soulmate is constantly popping into your life. But because you're feeling so stuck or you're not open to the possibility that people could be there for you, waiting for you, that you don't see that significant person who could just be waiting to be your next love. So, in any areas of your life, the possibilities that are there are endless. And we have the ability to be able to see them as something that overwhelms us, or we can sort of take a different shift in perspective and go, well, it's just going to lead me. If I choose one, it's going to lead me to the next thing. And then what often happens is the path that you want to be on just starts to appear. Okay, so let me just talk to you. We'll just take a little stop here for a second. I just want to sort of jump into why possibility does distract us. And I've sort of touched on it a little bit at the moment, is that there's just so many choices out there. But a big part of why possibility does distract us is that fear of missing out. And I don't mean like the fear of missing out on not going to a party. I don't mean that at all. It's more the fear of saying no to one option means losing out on the possibility of success or happiness if you were to say yes to it. So if an opportunity presents itself to you and you're like, no, that's not the right one for me, rather than making that choice and the possibilities that it could work out or it may not work out, if you don't choose in the first place, then you'll never know either way. So the possibility of the distraction of possibility is all about, people have the fear that saying no to one of the possibilities will mean that you'll lose out. Another reason why possibility distracts us is decision fatigue. And I've touched on this a little bit so far in our conversation. It's really about having too many options and that we can't even make the small decisions. So we've got so many options in front of us, and this can build up over the course of a day, over the course of the week, course of a year even. If you've got so many options that you have to choose from, even just making that small decision or that next step can feel so overwhelming and so exhausting. It can feel like we don't even have the energy to commit to that decision. Now, I know I've felt this many times in lots of different areas of my life. The simplest one is you've been at work all day, you come home, and your child asks you what's for dinner. And you go into a big meltdown yourself because you're just like, I can't even think about what are we having for dinner tonight, and it becomes this big meltdown. It's because you've made all these other important decisions throughout your day that your brain literally just goes into shutdown and says, you know what, I don't have the energy to even think about this now. And you can see how this relates to all the endless possibilities that are in front of you, because how in the world do I choose which one when it feels so big and then I have to put so much energy into making that decision? The third reason that I want to go through with you why possibility distracts us is the lack of prioritization. All right. So if you don't have goals, if you don't have sort of like a general path of where you want to be going, or you're not really clear around what it is that you're looking for, without these clear goals, every single possibility that is in front of you feels equally important. So you look at sort of like this endless stream of possibility in front of you. If you don't know what your path is or what your purpose is, and I don't mean big life's purpose, I mean what is the thing that I want to be doing? Even if you don't have a ballpark of that, all of those possibilities are almost like just yelling out to you, hey, what about me? I'm here too. I could be good for you. I could also be good for you. But what about me? And what you do is you start to hear all the possibilities and it just becomes exhausting. But can you feel how different it is if you have a goal? And it might be I want to start to feed my family more whole foods. Really specific. I want my family to eat more whole foods. When you have that clear goal and then a course pops up about feeding your family whole foods, immediately your focus goes to that and you're like, well, that's the one that I want to do because it fits in with an existing goal that you have. So that's a very specific example. If it's something to do with your business or your work, if you have all these possibilities in front of you and you just know you're not happy at work and that's it, but you don't know even what industry you want to go into, choosing what the next best step is going to be just too overwhelming for you. But if you go, you know what I want to do? I want to get skills in communication because I want to feel more confident speaking to teams of people. Then if an opportunity pops up around you working with someone who can help you with your communication, it's like your radar just immediately just focuses and locks in on that. And you're like, hey, that's the thing that can help me with my goal. So can you feel the difference between if you don't have a goal, all the possibilities just become overwhelming and almost just compete for your attention? Whereas if at least you have a goal of some sort or you have some sort of clear pathway, then when the opportunity pops up, it makes more sense. And as we're going through these, I want you to think, this is the end of the year. I'm not sure when you're listening to this, but this was released in December. I want you to be thinking about what will next year look like for me? Is any of this important for me? If I'm feeling a little bit lost at the end of December or I'm feeling exhausted by everything that's happened this year or the mundane, that middle bit just took hold of me this year and you're thinking about your goals for next year, dare I say your resolutions, we won't go there right now, but if you're thinking about what is it that I want to create in 2025, then hopefully this discussion with you on this episode is going to help. Okay, because making decisions based on a tired brain, by an overwhelmed brain, or by a brain that feels really stuck, our decisions become extremely reactive and don't often correlate to what we really want. But I digress. I was talking about why possibilities distract us, and I talked about that fear of missing out, of saying no to one option sort of sometimes feels like you might be saying no to success or happiness or love. Then there's that decision fatigue that even just having so many possibilities in front of us, just making the decision can feel so overwhelming. The third thing I spoke about was just not having a clear goal. And when we don't have a clear goal, every possibility just feels equally as important. And the last one is one that I think we know, but we don't really like to admit to. And this is that comparison culture. So what we do is we see other people chase opportunities and they seem to be really successful and they're doing all the things. And what it can do is it can consider us to follow their path, or it can sort of make us want to go down a different path because it sounds like what they have is, the success that you want. But what we don't realize in this sort of comparison culture is that other people's values may not be aligned to you, and the reality of their life or how they're living or what they're doing may be something that's so different to what we want for our own lives that comparison of just going, well, I want that, can be so far from really what you want that we sort of go off path. We go down all these other possibility routes when actually the path that you were on was absolutely ideal for you. All right. When we get stuck in all of these things, because I want to jump in now with you around some of those strategies of how you can stay focused when there are so many possibilities around us, but how can you still be open to those? But when we get into this overload state first, what often happens is that our focus becomes really fragmented. And when our focus becomes fragmented, it leads into things like procrastination. Hello. I giggle because, oh my gosh, how many times do I walk and get a chocolate biscuit, or I need to go and get another cup of tea, or I need to check on something, or I just need to go and do a quick stretch, whatever it is, just before I do a project that I find really tricky. I know I'm not alone there. So fragmented fragmented focus can lead to that sort of procrastination or just doing lots of different things at once. We proudly call this multitasking, but it's inefficient multitasking. So it's doing lots of things at once and nothing particularly well. Also, when we're in this impact of possibility overload, we also get that feeling of being burnt out. So, a lot of people are familiar, unfortunately, with what burnout feels like. But this mental energy that we spend assessing all of the different endless choices actually depletes our ability to concentrate. It also takes its toll on our physical resources as well. We get really tired. And the last one I just wanted to talk about with you was it can actually stall our progress. So if we're trying to sort of get lost in all of the endless possibilities that are out there for us, what it can actually do is delay the stuff that's really important. So it can keep us stuck, and jumping between all of the different possibilities can actually delay the meaningful outcomes that we're working towards. So going down tangents, flowing off onto different paths, being stuck in all of the endless possibilities and getting lost in that sea, well, it can often keep us stalled, it can keep us stuck, and it can keep us doing things that just aren't in alignment with what we really want. All right. So as we finish off this episode, it's a little bit longer episode than normal because I want for you to finish off your year with focus. I want you to finish off your year as well in a way that brings you joy, that you can look back on your year and go, gosh, I did a great job. I did everything that I possibly could with the information that I have, with the skills I have, with the experience I have. But what I want for next year is more clarity, or it might be I want greater focus, or it might be, next year I do want to be open to possibilities, but I don't want to get lost in them. So let's see about how you can stay focused while remaining open to all the amazing possibilities that are out there in life, because it is so exciting to think about what life has to offer. And so many motivational books and motivational resources is all about thinking about all the endless possibilities that you have. But what they don't talk about is the flip side of that thinking always about the endless possibilities. That is great and it might be motivating, but it's never going to happen unless you have focus and the knowledge to know what to do next. So let's have a look at what some of these are. So the first one is around setting clear priorities. Okay, so people know this one. It's just a bit tricky to actually implement. But the question I want you to ask yourself is, does this possibility align with my priorities? And the element of this is about knowing what your priorities are in the first place. So, define sort of 2 or 3 key goals that you want to be working on that guide the decisions. All right. So, if health is one of your priorities for the year and you want to become more active daily, all right, think does and an opportunity pops up that allows you to be a part of a walking group. Ask yourself, does this possibility align with my priorities? And you're going to go, yeah, because this year I want to be active every day. And being in this walking group is going to allow me to meet a group of people. It's going to keep me accountable. It's going to be fun. And it's going to get me outside every single day. Done. Tick. And if it doesn't align with the possibility that presents itself, doesn't align with your goal, then it's a no. Okay, so it makes it a little bit more linear, it makes it a little bit more black and white, but it also doesn't make it so grey that you don't end up doing anything. All right. The second thing that you can think about is creating a possibility parking lot. I remember hearing parking lot in a corporate strategy day one day, and it made me laugh because then I couldn't unhear it. And every corporate strategy day I'd ever been in from that point on, there was always parking lots. Let's put that in the parking lot. Just constantly. I digress. Shouldn't laugh at that, but here I am talking about a parking lot. But if you create a possibility parking lot, it might be it might be a possibility list. It might be like a wish list, whatever you want to call it. But write down ideas or opportunities that excite you, but they may not fit these current goals. Okay, so you're like, oh, that's cool. That sounds like a great idea, but not right now. Don't just let them pass through, write them down somewhere. It could even just be in your journal and just go back to that list when the timing is better. And you might actually realize just by writing it down that the manifestation of that in itself starts to work. So creating a possibility parking lot is not about ignoring the possibilities. It's just popping it down on a bit of paper and going, not right now, maybe one day. The third way that you can stay focused while sort of remaining open to possibilities is by limiting decision points. Now, what I mean by this is simplified choices that really sort of are defined by this sort of predefined decision point of yours. So let me give you an example of that. Only consider opportunities that are within a specific niche or skill set. So if your pathway is, and this really comes back to knowing really clearly what your goals are, it might be like going, if I go off on wanting to make cupcakes, or I want to go, opportunities are presenting themselves in cooking, but they've got nothing to do with what my goal is, then that's a very clear decision point where you're like, no, that's not even in my path for the next 12 months. So it's a hard no from me. And don't even explore it or entertain it. Or you can put it in that parking lot that we talked about as well. The fourth one out of the 7 I want to share with you is practicing gratitude and contentment. Now, I read about this stuff all the time. I hear about it in podcasts all the time. And I have to admit, sometimes I get a little bit miffed about it. I understand, and there is so much research around how important gratitude is and how much it helps our well-being, our contentment, our feeling of satisfaction in what we do. Sometimes if you're feeling really stuck and really overwhelmed, and you're in that phase of maybe anger, maybe feeling really lost and isolated, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of mental encouragement to flip that thinking into gratitude. And I understand the power of it. But when you're in the moment, it can feel really frustrating and sometimes even a little bit false to go, well, I'm not making any money, but what I'm really thankful for is, my partner. But if you're not paying your bills, it could be in the back of your mind going, well, I'm not making money. I can't pay my bills. So it feels really false to just focus on the fact that you've got your partner. But we do know that acknowledging the value of what you're already doing instead of always seeking what that next thing is, that action in itself can present the next thing for you. So yes, it can be frustrating in the moment. It can feel a little bit false, but the more that you practice gratitude for the things that you already have, what it does is allows you to focus on the things that really matter to you. All right. The last 3 is dedicating a limited amount of time to explore these possibilities. Now, what I love about this, there's actually a phrase I want to give. It's like time boxing it. So what you do is, yes, there's lots of possibilities and options. You might give yourself an hour or 2 in your week where you allow yourself this freedom of thinking, where you go, I am going to go down the rabbit hole of online searching around setting up my bait and tackle store. Talk about being specific, right? You might be an accountant right now, but you've always dreamed about opening your own bait and tackle store. Now, depends on how overwhelmed you are feeling in the decision, but allowing yourself time every week to explore that possibility. Look at it. Or it might be I just want to open my own physical store. Maybe it won't be as specific as bait and tackle. Rather than getting lost in all of the many things that come into play when you're opening up a physical store, just give yourself some set time. It might be like this week, spending 2 hours, and I'm going to research all the different ways and all the different possibilities of how to set up a physical store. And if that's the path, you do it, you turn that at the end of the 2 hours, you go, great, you've got a place where you've just stored all that information and you revisit it the next week. Because what we don't want is to get stuck in that exploration at the expense of what you're currently doing, unless it's very clearly tied with a very here and now goal of yours. So time boxing and just exploring what possibilities are in a specific time will ensure that you don't get distracted by possibility. All right, mindset shift. I've already touched on this one a little bit. But see saying no to things, no to possibilities, as preserving your energy for the right yes. Let me say that again. See saying no as preserving your energy for the right yes. Now, by saying no, rather than having that fear of going, but if I say no to that, what am I shutting out? Look at it to go, well, if I say no to that, what opportunities am I opening up for myself? Or by saying no to that, it's going to give me space for that to enter. And that mindset shift is really powerful. And we see it time and time again where just a simple mindset shift around possibility and even taking on that continuum of choice that I talked about earlier, seeing the choices that we make on a continuum, that it leads to one to the other. It's not a final thing that you have to live with for the rest of your life, is one of those mindset shifts that can limit the distraction within possibility. All right. The last one, just to cover, is around leveraging your accountability. All right. And, obviously, this is very much my world where people come to me when they're feeling stuck or where they're going like, hey, I don't know what to do. I feel very overwhelmed. I'm absolutely distracted. How do I find greater focus? And having someone who is a mentor, a coach, or even just a group of friends that'll keep you on track, what that'll do is when you start to sort of converse with them and say, oh, yeah, I was looking at this and I was thinking this and I've joined this group. If you've got a good accountability buddy, they'll go, hang on a minute. Last week you were saying you were going to join that group. What's going on there? And what they'll do is they'll ask those questions to keep you on the path that you had shared with them was really important to you. All right. So the distraction of possibility is very real. I hope that there are things that I've talked about in this episode that really resonated with you and you're like, I really get it. I can see my pattern. But if we look forward to what next year holds, a question I want you to ask yourself as you're looking at what you are wanting from 2025 is looking at what are your top priorities? What are the things that really are important to you? Not in comparison to other people, not because there are so many different options that you can choose from. What are your top priorities? What is it that you really want from the year ahead? Choose one possibility that really excites you and aligns with these goals. And then what you do is you take an actionable step every single day. And I'm currently working with a client who I'm helping build her business. And that business is very much, she has very clear goals. She knows exactly what she wants to do. But the challenge is taking those actionable steps every single day. And if this is you and you've got that goal clear and you really know what you want, then just map it out. Create a plan for yourself that goes, right, today I'm going to do this one thing. It doesn't have to be big. It can be little or it can be big. And just do that. And then do another one the next day, do another one the next day. And before you know it, not only will your focus be on that path, but opportunities will reveal themselves to you and you will be aware of it. You won't be distracted by it. You'll be aware of it and you'll be able to make those really clear decisions on, is this right for me right now or is it not? If it's not, then I'm going to park it and I'm going to come back to it later. Or I'm going to say, no, thank you, not for me. Or if it's the right opportunity for you, explore it. Give yourself a little bit of a framework to be able to go, is this the right path for me? And if it is a yes, if it's a great possibility and opportunity for you, then great, go for it. Grab it with the two hands and let's just see where that leads. So I really hope that today's episode around the distraction of possibility has resonated with you. I work with many people, many clients who are really wanting clarity around where to next. And if you find yourself in a stage where you're like, I really want Angela to work with me to help me with my next step, whether it be in business or whether it be in your next step of your journey in your education, then please reach out to me, support@angelalockwood.com.au. One of my superpowers is the ability to be able to ask the right questions and come up with a really clear plan. And it's easy sometimes for me because I'm the third eye. I'm the person who's the outsider. But sometimes that's what we need because we are so, lost in the overwhelm of possibility, or we're feeling stuck, that we need that person we can trust. We need that person who's got our back no matter what to help guide us to our next step. So if that's what you want, please reach out, support@angelalockwood.com.au, or head over to my Instagram, LinkedIn, everywhere, or over to my website, angelalockwood.com.au, and all the ways to get a hold of me are on there. But I just want to say thank you so much for being such a valued listener this year of the Distracted podcast. It is Distracted, I'm so proud of. I know that through the feedback that I'm getting from listeners, it really is making a difference in so many people's lives, not just through my episodes, but through the guests that I have invited on to share their knowledge and wisdom with you. Very strategic I am in selecting who I want on my podcast. I turn down a lot of people every single month to say no to them because they're not aligned with my vision for Distracted, and they're not people with the expertise, the science-backed expertise that I want for you, because we can get lost in the sea of information, in the sea of overwhelm of people, of information that really does keep us stuck. So I want to make sure I'm bringing you the best people in their field who can give you the information in a simple, really clear, and very practical way. So I really hope that you have loved Distracted this year. It will be back in January. I can guarantee you. I absolutely love doing this for you. I love the people I get to communicate with. I love the people I get to have chats with and have conversations with on here. But I also love to hear the impact that Distracted is making for people in their lives. So if that's you, thank you so much for being a part of Distracted and for listening and sharing these episodes with people you care about. But I really wish you all the best for this season, for over the Christmas period. I hope you get to have a break, but just go and have some fun, have some downtime, use this period of time to reset and refocus. And just know whatever you choose for the new year is not the end. It's not the final choice. It's going to be the choice that leads you on to the next thing, that's going to lead you to the next thing, that's just going to be so magical and joyful for you. And you know what? If it's not, you get to choose again. That's the joy of making decisions. Thanks so much, everyone, for being here on Distracted. I'm Angela Lockwood, and I will see you rested and re-energized and looking forward to the year ahead. Thanks so much, everyone. All the best.